Brodes Media.
What is going on, everybody? If you are hearing this clip before the show starts, that means I'm on vacation. What I did prior to leaving is I recorded a bunch of interviews with fantastic guests, so you still had something to consume here on Brodes Media until I return. So if any news drop that's so massive and it's not incorporated into these conversations, I apologize. There's nothing I can do about it. But I wanted to at least give you something while I was away. I love you all. You're all fantastic. Subscribe if you're new. I love you. Enjoy the shows. What's going on, everybody? Welcome on into another episode of Schmoozed. Today we have John Kincade of the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up? What's going on?
I wouldn't be schmoozing with me right now because that could be, I'm very highly infectious and everything. I got poison running through my body. So don't schmooze too closely. Let's keep social distance. I miss you, Brodes. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. You know, just keeping the head down, grinding, not stopping. But more importantly, how are you feeling? For the people who don't know, battling cancer for the third time. But how you feeling?
I feel pretty good. They tell me that I'm handling this like a beast, which is great.
I'm not surprised.
The only thing is fatigue is the only thing. Like, just I get tired easily. Other than that, I haven't been vomiting. The steroids freak me out. Like, I can't sleep. Like when I do my treatment, this is my off week. So next Wednesday, Wednesday, coming up next week will be the next treatment that I got. And when Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I can't sleep. The steroids keep me up, and I am sometimes not the most pleasant when I'm asked a dumb question or something. So it can be really tough for Bob and Pat. You know.
Yeah, well, you're up at what time's your alarm go off in the morning if you could sleep?
4
a.m. Okay,
so what I'll do is I'll sleep. I do sleep, but I sleep for honestly 40 minutes at a time for those 3 nights. And then you didn't see it around the studios, but they literally hooked to my port in my chest here, and I had a portable carrying poison with me from Wednesday afternoon till Friday at lunchtime. So they literally feed me the poison, the 5-FU, which is what it is, the chemo I'm doing. FU, which is very appropriate.
Yes, it is.
And I have a little fanny pack that is hanging crossbody on my body, and it pumps poison into me 2 milliliters or so, 2.5 milliliters an hour. But it used to be where you would sit somebody down and give them all of that at once through an IV bag. Right. And then they'd be sick as a dog. They'd be out of their minds because they'd get it all in a 2.5 hour period. When they give it to you over 2 days, it's much better.
Right.
And my doctors are amazing. Shout out to Dr. Schoon Young, Dr. Sprandio, Dr. Colazzo, who are giving me my life back, and I plan on making them proud. And so I'm doing great. 9 more treatments, though. It's going to get cumulative, so it's going to be a little harder. That's why I'm hoping Jalen Hurts and the Eagles give me a nice Eagles season so I'm not all stressed out.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we're rooting for you. You know that.
Thank you, buddy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're going to kick some ass. Are the Sixers going to kick ass? Well, that's a great question. All right, so we'll start with Joel Embiid's latest comments. I'll give you my thoughts, and then you can have the floor. I didn't like what he said. I didn't like what he had to say about, I want to win a championship, whether it's here or another city. I don't hate him. I don't want to run him out of town, but I just thought it was poor judgment. He knows what he's doing. He's super, super intelligent. He also mentioned how he likes to use the media when it comes, and he used Tyrese Maxey as an example. He likes to use it for leverage, to try and throw some shots or to try to inspire. I think this was planned and methodical for Daryl Morey. But I thought it's distasteful after the last series we saw out of them. What say you?
I think that the fact that he said those comments in a meeting with Maverick Carter, one of the most master guys that I really admire, a marketing genius, that he says it in a meeting with him, completely planned, completely by design. What I'm disappointed in, and again, if anybody's hating on Joel or says, let's get him out of town, the bum, whatever, I'm just going to say, I'm not in your camp. But I absolutely understand, and I would like to know, if you do have your eye on the door, let me open the door for you. And I really do feel that way. I want James Harden, and I will. I know some good movers in Delco. Us Delco people, we have lots of moving companies. I know some good movers. And if James Harden needs a little help getting moved, I will get him a fabulous Delco rate. because I want him gone. But Joel Embiid, I'd love to see Joel Embiid try to finish this out. What I always think is that I think a trip to Rooms to Go to pick up a real full-length mirror, because I don't think he's taken a good look in the mirror about who's actually to blame for why his teams and he haven't met expectations. Sometimes it's bad luck. A broken face is bad luck. I don't want one, so I understand that. But to me, I don't think he takes enough responsibility for what he should be responsible for. And having worked 6 years with Shaquille O'Neal on a weekly basis, I know that Shaq constantly held himself to a standard of, okay, there's an expectation level that I gotta meet. And when he got called out about his conditioning and stuff like that, he grumped about it. But then he bore down and was the 3 times Finals MVP. I mean, you have to at some point accept the responsibility, and that's where I feel Joel Embiid's at.
So I agree with you on the front of Joel. I don't know if he's properly digesting what's going wrong. He's not wrong to say that there's some other things too, but it starts with him, right? Like, the roster isn't fully complete. There's some holes here. They're super thin. I don't think Maxey's a primary ball handler when he does have the ball in his hands, but we have James Harden who likes to dribble a billion times. There's a lot of things here, but ultimately he's not looking hard enough at himself, and that's upsetting. The James Harden thing, though. Go ahead.
But with Embiid, though, didn't the Sixers have a superior roster to the Heat? The Heat do not have as good a roster as the Sixers. When we talk about the Sixers roster, and I say it too, when we talk about the Sixers roster, well, it's not complete. It's more complete than what Eric Spoelstra deals with on a nightly basis. Do you think Eric Spoelstra
Here's my counter. Here's my counter to this. Yes, you are correct that the Sixers have a better roster than Miami. This is why I'm having such a difficult time figuring out what the hell the Sixers are. I think the Sixers can compete with every single team in the Eastern Conference, except the Celtics is their biggest kryptonite due to the size on the wing. So if they matched up against any other opponent in the second round, I truly believe we'd see them in an Eastern Conference Finals, but it's that stupid logo, it's that stupid size on the wing that they can't get over that hump, and that's the only team that gives them this trouble to this level. So what do I do with that?
Well, a year ago, it was Spoelstra in Miami. Remember, and James didn't bother to show up for Game 5 and Game 6 again, last 2 games of the series. And I didn't like Joel laughing at the end of the postseason. I don't think he's got the, I don't want him smiling and laughing and hugging. And, I can tell you the greatest players of all time, that's not how they react to defeat. Just give me like the greatest, it's usually a quick couple words in the ear and then they get the hell off the court. Joel Embiid, no, he to me, he needs to at least give the appearance that it bothers him more. And maybe that's superficial. I don't care, but it might be. It may be a Cameroonian thing compared to a Delco thing. But whatever it is, he's got to work on it.
I love
Delco, look, Delco, you lose a game of Monopoly, you may be saying F you to your aunt.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a totally different culture. It's got to be foreign to Joel.
That's funny. But no, look, for me, I just, whether I'm just in a younger generation of I grew up with these athletes and it's a totally different beast, I feel like that's just today's generation of athletes. Doesn't mean I like it, but I guess like after a series is over, they dap up, they hang out the next day, they go party. But I want to touch on the James Harden part of this all.
Sure.
If I'm Daryl Morey, I like the way he's playing this. It's going to be hardball. He's going to do the same thing he did with Ben Simmons, and you saw how that worked out. Now, unfortunately, we didn't win a championship, but just looking at that trade 1-for-1, or
wasn't a big deal at all. No.
Yeah, he did a good job for a player who wasn't playing in Ben Simmons. If I want to take another crack at this, I think based off of the current makeup of the roster, James Harden needs to be here because the alternative is a bunch of role players from the Clippers. Once again, I'm putting my hands up because I don't know what to do here because he's not happy and you're going to force your way out. That's how the NBA works. If you told me best case scenario, I'm running it back with Nick Nurse and I'm seeing what happens because I think that's the best way to maybe take a crack at this. But I don't know if that's going to happen, and I feel you disagree with me.
Well, I do because he handles this business much like one of my daughter's friends after a breakup. let's scrub the Instagram. And now James has scrubbed every reference to the Philadelphia 76ers. I think he's still following Delilah's and Creekside Cabaret.
Nothing wrong with that,
I think he's left his DMs open with those too. I'm not thinking that's a problem. To me, he's a man-child. I mean, when I see James Harden, this will be the third organization that he's just whenever the going gets tough, he runs or he puts on the fat suit. And he is a guy who, to me, again, I don't believe he could talk to me about championships all day long. He doesn't give a flip about championships.
I agree with that.
Bull crap. I've seen him in clutch games. No, he's fine. He's fine, and he's okay, and he can go party after, and he can go wear his white suit and his sunglasses inside the house and really be cool. I think he's very enamored with himself. I think he just the quicker he's gone, I think it's better for the organization. I would rather have guys who can accentuate the roles of Maxey and Tobias Harris even and Joel Embiid more than I would want to see another year of James Harden, because I've already seen the ending. I know the ending of the movie.
Okay, so this is where I can see your side. I just don't know if it outweighs bringing Harden back and running it back. If you told me you get 3 pieces for Harden and you trade with the Clippers and it's something like Powell, things like that, right? If you know you're going to get a steady 17 points per game, 8 points per game, and 9 points per game, I'm just making random numbers up, is that better than 40-point Harden and then the next night 6-point Harden? Like, you just don't know because he's so inconsistent. Even though they're not as sexy big of names, is there something to consistency and role pieces and a starter compared to a Harden who every single night you have to take a wild guess on what version of Harden shows up?
Did Nick Nurse win a championship with 2 stars?
It was Kawhi and then the back tail endish of Kyle Lowry.
I mean, seriously. I think the role players that are consistent is exactly what Nick Nurse would want. Everything about Nick Nurse speaks to consistency, speaks to a plan, speaks to a defensive strategy, speaks to teaching, everything that he's talked about. I'm very excited to see what Nick Nurse can do. And I absolutely believe that if you gave me the role players and then you add Embiid and you have Maxey and you have Tobias Harris, I absolutely think this team could get out of the second round in the East. Whether they can win more than that, I don't want to set that as the bar. But honestly, when you haven't done it since I graduated, I'm trying to think. I don't even get into it. But I think they are really. It's been high school graduation since they won a title, and it's been 23 years since they got out of the second round. It's a joke, but people are like, "Well, the second round's not the goal." When you haven't won a second round series in almost a quarter of a century, that's the goal. Everybody mocks the Flyers around here. The Flyers have done so much more in the last 23 years than the Sixers have accomplished. But everybody mocks the Flyers as this dumpster fire. Right now, the Sixers are the better team. But the Sixers had a period of very respectable success, regular season success. And you know what it meant in the spring? Nothing. It meant nothing to me, because I care about playoffs. I honestly do. You can put up all the 50-win seasons you want. Go hang a freaking banner that says, "Oh, we got 50 wins all these seasons." Nobody gives a damn. They don't. And I think it's a.
This is why I brought you on. This is why I got the text. You know what I mean? This is great stuff. I know. I love it too. All right, let's get to Tyrese Maxey as we're looking around the roster here.
It's the steroids too. Remember, little steroids. Right now, I can always put that off on.
That's Maxey. So me and Ty used to talk about this a lot. I love him. I think he's a go-getter. I think he's a bucket getter. I think he gets tunnel vision, though, when he has the ball in his hands, because he likes to score. Sure. He likes the floater. He likes the layup. I don't think he's a born natural point guard. And if you do trade a James Harden and you don't get someone back in return who can play that role, does it go to Maxey? And if it does, can he learn the position, or is it something that's born and it's part of your DNA?
I think it's part of your DNA.
Me too.
I think a player, what's Tyrese, 22?
Give or take.
Whatever. I think when you're 22 in hoops age, that's like 35. I mean, you not that you're broken down, but your knowledge of the game, the amount of reps you've taken, the amount of games you played, the amount of AAU ball, Kentucky ball, things like that you played. I think you are who you are. Could he learn it? Sure. Could he master it? I'm not sure. I can't think of a lot of guys who mastered a different position in a ball handling capability in the NBA while their careers were going on. So I don't like that. But the one thing with Tyrese, and I hate saying this, but when I do, people think it's a smear, and it's not. I do think a lot of the fans in the city maybe overvalue what he is, maybe think he's a little bit more than he is. I think Tyrese Maxey is a great part of a threesome, not Tiger Woods kind. That would, that could help you win a championship. But I think I think he'd be a great part of that. A twosome, a dynamic duo. I don't see that as a championship dynamic duo if you're talking about Embiid and Maxey. Add a third in, and I don't know what could happen. I don't know what could happen to Tobias Harris if he gets more opportunity. I really do believe he could easily score 4 or 5 more points a game.
I agree. No doubt.
If he was more featured. But I also wonder what kind of player doesn't want to be featured or doesn't fight to be featured.
Well, he did make those. This is the first time we heard it. I know his father was the crazier one, but he came out and he got into his bag a little bit, which I like because he's not wrong. He just took too many steps forward as if he's Kobe in his prime.
Exactly.
You're not Kobe in your prime. But I like that attitude, though. He did show it.
Well, if Tobias Harris is an assassin, I mean, seriously, there's a lot of people walking around alive. There's a lot of people just walking on the street going, what was that? What buzzed by my head? I mean, seriously, let's be honest. Tobias, but though as part of a good collection of players, I do think he could be a solid 3. I'm anxious to see it. I'm anxious to see Nick Nurse in the plan. That gets me very excited.
Me too. Now, do you trust Daryl Morey? Just a nice, simple question. Do you, John Kincade, trust Daryl Morey?
Do I trust that Daryl Morey is a man of conviction? Yes. Do I trust that Daryl Morey is a guy who I think means what he says? Yes. So I don't think he's one of those BS artists. But what I don't trust is I haven't seen the success. I haven't seen his vision translate to success. And so to me, I don't trust that. I think he has visionary plans that haven't materialized. I need to see them materialize, and I need to see them materialize quickly.
Now, is that because James Harden is taking this path? If he wasn't taking this path, I think it's easier to see the vision, but he's kind of handcuffed until he finds something that he feels is reasonable for the return, unless I'm seeing this wrong.
Well, he also, though, then miscalculated on acquiring James Harden. He miscalculated on the player he was, because if James Harden was the player that Daryl Morey told us he was when we acquired him here in Philadelphia, he'd have another contract right now, and we'd probably have had a conference finals berth or an NBA finals berth, or God forbid, a parade. So I don't trust necessarily that his plans come to fruition. And there's a lot of people that are great plans people. They can come up with plans, but can they execute their plan? I don't know yet.
Okay, yeah, I just like, he's definitely regarded as one of the savviest around the league and all. And every time you talk about this, you think of the leash, how long he has, and what the alternative would be. And I just think he's such an intelligent mind that I'm willing to give him a crack at this. If someone else was in his shoes dealing with the Ben Simmons drama, and it's hard, it's difficult because it's not like James Harden worked, because here we are talking about a very similar situation with him. But at the time, it was successful, and I did deem it to be a positive note. I don't know if someone else can step in and handle it the same way with the same level of intensity and get a reward the same way he did with James Harden, even though James Harden didn't work. See why I'm so confused here?
You should be confused. And also, too, though, he has a lot of I've known Les Snead, the Rams general manager, for a long time, since he was an intern with the Atlanta Falcons.
Wow.
And Les Snead with the F those picks, which everybody laughed at.
Yeah.
But if you look what it does, it gives you a short opportunity to try to win a championship, which is what Stan Kroenke wanted. Les got his championship, but now Les has got his rebuild. And the owner's like, okay, you get to do the rebuild because of the fact that you got me that championship. But when you roll the dice and you deal away all those draft picks and everything, it can be a long path back. And I have a feeling that Daryl Morey may be on a beach in the Riviera. And we may be sitting here with a 33-win basketball team in a few years.
Oh, John, come on.
I'm sorry to say. Look, Joel Embiid has his eye on the door. No matter what anybody says,
he planted the seed for sure.
Right. He's to blame for that, not the media, not anybody else. He said it. He has his eye on the door at least. Well, if things don't go well next year, maybe I'll go elsewhere. I'll be out, or I'll force my way out. And so, to me, the beginning of the end is here. It's just a matter of how quickly it gets there and what you get done. So we'll find out.
I start to wonder, is he watching Damian Lillard and seeing how it's playing out in Portland, and he doesn't want to be that guy that gets stuck in Philly? He loves the city. Everyone knows his connection and his ties, but you're never going to win here, and then people start to mock you and make fun of you and all that. And he's seeing Dame do it and recognizes that I got to plant the seed because my time's coming. I'm going to get out in front of it prior to the timeline Dame used, or is that me reaching too far in?
No, I don't think it is at all. The only thing is that unlike Damian Lillard, Joel Embiid has been surrounded by talent. Joel Embiid has been surrounded by some players that could have helped him win something. He hasn't delivered, whether it be by injury, broken faces, and, every time his knee hurts, it's like I say on the radio, he's an extra from Saving Private Ryan. Like he's pulling himself over to the bench. And those never seem to result in surgeries. Notice that? The year they lost to the Hawks, he walked off the court like he was in the most amazing pain, never needed a surgery. And they kept talking about that he was going to need surgery at the end of the year. Now, this year, they didn't say he would need surgery. And as far as I know, no surgeries. It's just going to heal itself. It'll heal itself.
Did he get the orbital in the two hands on the same exact offseason? Was that the one? Was that the most recent?
That was last summer.
Yeah, last summer.
If he is I like my soaps. I saw him on General Hospital the other day. They were rolling him into the ER. I said, it was like, okay, what's the latest drama with Joel Embiid? They don't have it. Hey, if Stephen A. Smith can be on General Hospital, Joel Embiid most certainly could. He's good on there, by the way.
You're one of a kind. You know that?
There's a reason for that. Nobody else wants to be the second.
Yeah. Hey, they say the same thing about me too. All right, this is my final one for you.
All right.
Paul Reed, you think they made the right decision by matching what Utah did?
Yes.
Me too.
Now the one thing is that I get to work with a hoopsmeister like Bob Cooney. And before even he got the offer sheet from Utah, Bob was saying, I see him in the starting lineup, Paul Reed being a starter next year. And I said to him, are you nuts? Paul Reed is a starter? And he made the case, and it was excellent. And then the offer sheet comes. Then the Sixers match. Then Paul joined us for First Friday. Or joined us in the studio. He's going to come back for a First Friday. And it was awesome. He was so candid and so funny. But
he's got a personality on him.
I have to do what it took to get the Sixers to pay me. And guess what? Every single one of us that has ever look at the industry we work in. And it's look, you do what you got to do. And because you got to look out for yourself. And I admired him with that. I can't wait to see what Nick Nurse sees. Nick Nurse obviously sees a lot in Paul Reed. And that tells me that Nick Nurse says, oh, no, we can use him. And his energy is infectious. So hopefully some of that works in their favor, which would be absolutely awesome.
I'm excited. I am excited. I know it's a weird time for the Sixers, but there's so much happening that I'm fascinated to see how this all goes. But, John, I can't thank you enough. The John Kincade Show, 6A to 10A on 97.5 The Fanatic. It is early. It is early.
Love you, brothers.